Hello and welcome to Spinster's Library. I'm Claudia and this is the 21st episode in my Bookish Favourites Advent Calendar. And today I want to talk about one of my favourite dystopian novels that I've recently discovered, Parable of the Sower by Octavia E. Butler. This is a dystopian fiction from 1993 and it's particularly scary to talk about this at this time because the novel is set in the early 2020s. The main character is a girl named Lauren, and the book is told through her diary. So there is a kind of a trend in 20th century dystopian fiction to write dystopian narratives as diary entries, and I'm on board with that because I think that that style of narration works really well to describe a changing world. Now, Lauren is one of the lucky ones in this dystopian future because she lives in a gated community just outside of LA. And what that means is that she essentially lives in a cul-de-sac with her family. Lauren is a 15-year-old girl at the beginning of the story. She lives there with her family and a handful of other families that heavily protect their street. Because outside of this safe gated community, all hell has broken loose. The privatization of all of the emergency services, the shortage of fuel and of food means that it is pretty much just chaos and anarchy out in the world. And while the gated community is keeping Lauren and her family safe, she doesn't feel too happy about the situation she's in. She spends a lot of her time thinking about spirituality and about religion. Considering her father is a pastor, she, though, is thinking up her own religion in her head. Although, of course, like any good religious founder, she doesn't think that it is her own ideas, but that through the greater spirituality of the world, she has been given the key to understand it. So a lot of the beginning of the book is her developing this system of faith and the system of belief while in the relative safety of her community. However, one day her world gets turned upside down and she is forced to go on a journey through the United States in search of a better life for herself and for the handful of people that she picks up along the way. And so Lauren turns from a bored teenage girl in a very unsafe world to a pilgrim and a prophet on her way to save her entire community. I loved this mix of philosophical writing, of thoughts about spirituality and religion, with a dystopian world that is crumbling around these main characters. And Lauren is such a unique main character in that she's, from the start, she's filled with a kind of confidence that I certainly never had at 15 years old. She is a very strong leader of the group of people around her. Even in the beginning of the book, when she is living with her family, she is the rock that keeps the community together. And she has this kind of charisma that I feel like we very rarely see in female main characters, and especially in teenage girl main characters. And I love that about the book. The dystopian world is appropriately terrifying and appropriately realistic, and it makes me scared to think that we are moving into the 2020s now, when all of the things that are happening in this book aren't that far from reality. Like any good dystopian novel, this one brings up issues that clearly were already a topic of discussion in 1993 when the book was published, and that certainly have become more prevalent today. Issues of climate change, of privilege, both in terms of class, in terms of race, in terms of community, discusses the role of religion and faith in a society that's falling apart, discusses the role of community, of friendships, and of romantic relationships. And it does all of these things with an amount of nuance that I wish all dystopian novels had. And it's just a prime example of how to do dystopian fiction right. if you are in any way interested in dystopian fiction, then I highly recommend that you pick up Parable of the Sower by Octavia E. Butler. It will blow your mind. It certainly blew my mind. See you tomorrow, and thank you for watching. Bye!